Hi everyone, it's your realtor Jill again, and today I have this special guest who gonna talk about a topic that most of you don't know about. Now, Bonnie has been working with me for a long time, and it's my privilege to be able to talk to her today and answer some of your questions that you may have. In buying or selling transactions in real estate, people know about lender, people know about realtors, people know about buyer sellers, yes, but we rarely heard about title company. So what exactly do they do? Today I have Bonnie from Smart Title, and she will help explain a lot of things to us title related. So let's get started. Hello, Bonnie.
Hi, Jill. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, Bonnie, do you mind telling us a little bit about title insurance? Like, why do we need title insurance?
All right. Well, title insurance is it's insurance. It's just like insurance on your home. After you closing, you receive a title insurance policy, and what that policy covers are any unknown defects at the time of closing. If we have any unknown defects after closing, then the title insurance policy will cover most of those. It doesn't cover everything, but it covers most of those items. So it's a little bit of a misconception at closing when you think some people say you're going to get clear title. It's not really clear title, but we're insuring on any unknown defects. If there are known defects, that's the 3 to 4 weeks we have the file. Usually that's a time frame. That's when we're clearing those defects. And then if there's something unknown, which I haven't seen too many of those, but I've heard some crazy stories. Then, then that's where your title insurance comes in, and you only pay for it once, and it stays with you the whole time you own the property. So, for peace of mind, it's very, very important. Um, if
So
you,
to let the audience know, understand it better, can you tell one of those crazy story?
yeah,
Summarize it, simplify it as much as you can.
yes. Well, one very common claim that is not the fault of the title company, but is still covered are false POAs. A POA is a power of attorney. So if the title company themselves prepared the POA, they pretty much have vetted the person signing. They know what to do to make sure this is the correct person. But when you're dealing with the power of attorney in the title chain that was prior to your transaction, you really have no knowledge of how
Yeah.
that power of attorney, was signed, and if it's legit. So it could be a prior title company that didn't check it out properly. So that's things like that we would still cover because we cover issues in the title chain. You could have when there are deceased people and when I say in the title chain, I'm saying, 3 4 sellers ago, maybe there wasn't title insurance, or maybe there was, but a mistake was made and something was missed. And then the current title company that gives you your title insurance, uh, they sometimes depend on what the prior examiners and the prior, if it was insured prior, they sometimes stop there. They don't have the information on the sellers from 4 years ago that another title company had. That we're going to call them and find out this or that. So we're relying on that, which is something different, called a master indemnity. But if there's, say, a deceased person, there was an heir that was missed, that's going to be a title claim. That doesn't happen too often, but with affidavits of heirship, you might find some siblings tend to forget that one sister or brother that nobody liked, and they're
Mhm.
still an heir, that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
you can have that. Also, liens. The and when liens are recorded in real property records, they are indexed. under the person's name. And when a title examiner does a title examination, they search that person's name. If there's a mistake in indexing it, it could be missed, or the examiner could have just missed it, even if it was there. Those kind of liens would be covered. And quite a few other things, anything that really affects title adversely.
Yeah.
I know one that I remember one claim where a builder had purchased a lot. The survey and the title commitment did not show a restriction that was over 100 years old. It was filed over 100 years ago. And
Wow.
it said that you could not put an outhouse, like it had a building line for where you could put the outhouse,
Mhm.
which really is not relevant in today. But it still caused issues in city planning.
Mhm.
And since it was not on the title commitment and it wasn't on the survey either, then that was a claim
Mhm.
because the builder could not build in that area and only could build 2 instead of 3 houses.
Yeah.
So just very small things like that can be a big deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in a very simplified terms, title insurance will make sure that the new owner of the house own the house with, all the correct documentations, all the clear correct record, at least from the previous owner until the point of sale.
Well, yeah, we insure through the sovereignty, so we go all the way back. However, if there was another title company that insured title
Mhm.
prior to us, what happens in the claims department behind the scenes is that they're working with that title
Yeah.
company. So
Yeah. So later on, when you close on the house, nobody can come after you and say, "Hey, this used to be my house, and now it's yours. Let's go to court and fight over it." Right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's whew,
Yeah.
I've I heard a recent story of a one of my friends. He bought a property and had to close at another title company. He was the buyer, and when he showed up at the house to tell the tenant that he was a new landlord, the tenant said he didn't know anything about that. And then the tenant called the landlord on the spot there, and the
Mhm.
landlord had no idea the house was sold.
Oh,
And
really?
and the seller showed up in person to that title company, who was not the real seller, who was not the real person.
Oh, what?
Yeah, unfortunately, some claims do take a little while. It took him a little while to get his money back, but yeah, he got his money back.
Okay.
We really just want to get the job done right the first time around because claims just are a headache, but at least you have that peace of mind that if something does happen, you can fall back on your title insurance.
Right, right. Wow. So what exactly does a title insurance agency do?
One thing that everyone has in common, new in the title insurance industry, when they start working, is they always say, I had no idea that so many different things were done at a title insurance company. I mean, you have to wear so many different hats.
Mhm.
And like you said at the beginning, the title insurance company is kind of a mystery what they do. They just get the title done, close the file, but there's a lot that happens from contract to closing. So once we receive the contract, we we check the appraisal district, compare it to the contract. We submit the order to the title examiner, and within a few days we get the title examination back. During that time, if we order a tax certificate to make sure taxes are paid, and if not, then we have to check with the taxing entities to make sure there's no lawsuit in the works, a tax suit. We have to order the HOA documents because the HOA, usually if it's mandatory, has a lien just from their deed restrictions. So we order the HOA documents, which could take a couple weeks, and we order the mortgage payoff. If a seller has a mortgage payoff, we also have to collect information on the seller, social, date of birth, things like that. It's not uncommon in a large county to have a similar or same name as the seller, with liens showing up on the title examination. So we have to clear those. In the meantime, we're giving this paperwork out to the agents, the buyer, the seller. The lender has a separate set, which is a little more detailed, of title documents to send to them.
Mhm.
And then once we receive closing instructions from a lender, if there's a loan, that can be quite detailed. We put all our numbers together and make sure that what the fees that we're collecting, we have invoices and everything matches what the lender has. And then we get the closing documents, which can be 100 to 200 pages. We have to review those for accuracy. And then we do the closing. And then we have to make sure that the money the lender sends us matches our disbursements. And after that, do the closing, notarize everything, get the file funded, get everyone paid, everyone's happy. And then after that, for post-closing, we record the documents in real property records. We literally run to the scanner and get those recorded because we insure title up to the date of recording, not
Yeah.
the date of closing. And that's good for the buyer. And after that, then we issue the title insurance policy after closing. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of accounting involved. There's knowledge you need in liens. And it's just more than data entry. It's quite a bit.
Yes, absolutely. Now, the buyers will have the buyer agent and lender work with them. The seller will have the seller agent and other vendor like appraiser, surveyor,
Yes.
right? They work for a certain party. However, title company, they work to tie everything together
Exactly.
to
Yes.
make sure this
Mhm.
transaction happen, to make sure it's closed and closed correctly. Now, they also take care of, the buyer, the seller after closing too. I remember, emailing title company 3 years later, 3 years after closing, asking for a survey, and they still have the record of that.
Yes.
That saved the current owner like
Yes.
$100 on a new survey. I remember also another instance where I have to use another title company. Oh, by the way, seller will be the one who usually will be the one who pick title company because they pay for the title company for the title insurance. Buyer, we usually get very very little in who to work with. One buyer that I had, she after closing on the house, 2 months after, she received a letter from the appraisal district saying that she owned a lien on the house. And then I was able to just reach out to the title company that closed on that house and had it cleared for her the next week. So it's really quick. Thanks to the title insurance.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And
So if I were, with the seller, I am on the seller side, how do I choose a title company?
so if you're the seller, I definitely recommend relying on your agent's experience with title companies. They have worked with many different title companies. They have not just worked with their favorite title company because, like you said, in Texas, usually the seller pays for the title insurance. So when they're representing the buyer, they're closing at a bunch of different title companies. So they know a lot of title companies. So I think that that's the best thing to do. But apart from that, reviews aren't always correct. But I would definitely look at the reviews of a title company. I
Mhm.
would so title companies really are service based in Texas because the fees are regulated by the Texas Department of Insurance. So if every title company has to charge the same fee, then really the only thing that they compete against each other with is how good their service is. There's our escrow settlement closing fee that can vary anywhere from probably $400 to $600. I would not choose a title company just because they're $50 cheaper on an escrow fee because the service is just, you really have to look at the service. I don't think that if a title company is brand new that they're not as good, and if they're been around a long time, that they're better. But if they're brand new, I would definitely kind of do a little research on that, because you want to make sure they didn't come from another title company that maybe got closed down. Um,
Yeah.
I do believe that people are all inherently good people, and but once in a while you have a bad egg. And in the title insurance industry, if you do have a bad egg working at a title company, that could be devastating for your file. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
imagine that title insurance will be with you until the end of your ownership with the house. So make sure you be careful about that. And to the point that Monty was talking about, working with title company that not experienced. I was working with one of them that later on I found out she's from a company that closed down. And I was able to save my buyer couple $100 title fees because Bonnie helped me to look at the fees
um, I
and,
remember
and clear that
that.
out for me. So yes, there's a lot of bad eggs in every industry.
You have to be careful, because we have access to millions of dollars in our escrow account, and if you do wrong things, it's a it's kind of scary.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
And especially when it's related to one of your biggest asset, your house. Um,
I
so sorry,
I
go
wanted
ahead.
to say one thing that is kind of important, that people don't really think about too much, and I hear very often, is if a title company is saying, bring the deal to me, I can close it if the other title company can't. And usually, if a company says they can do something when no one else can, that's a great thing and a great selling point. But in our industry, it's not, because there may be, I have had very little, a few files that came to me from another title company that I was able to close, only because maybe they didn't have the experience, or they were too busy and didn't want to put the time in, which is understandable. A title company can turn down a hard file; they have the right to do that, uh, or just whatever reason they turned it down, but it was doable. It was a fixable problem that I took on, and I was able to fix it the right way. Uh, I never cut corners, but typically most of the files, if someone calls and says that they have a file that another title company could not insure, we wouldn't be able to insure it either, and no other title company can, because the laws are the laws. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, if a lien attaches and they don't like that, and the seller can't pay it, and they have a lien on their house and they go to another title company, I mean, that lien is still there. Just because you change title companies doesn't change the law. And you know what I mean? And so in title insurance, be careful of anyone people that are advertising, because I've seen it and I was like, ooh, I would say that, where they're saying, if they can't close it, bring it to me. We can close anything. And I'm like, well, so I would be careful of that.
Yep. Yep. 100%. So we also hear a lot about wire fraud or any
Ooh,
type
yeah.
of fraud title related. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, I can tell you that title companies are very well versed on wire fraud. Um, we really study a lot about it. We're up to date on everything. Our underwriters are constantly emailing us about the newest, type of fraud. There's some really shocking things I've heard lately about a newer type of fraud, but I won't talk about that. I'll talk about what the regular type of wire fraud. The it So lenders and title companies have extremely secure. We have to, very very secure. Um, our servers and how we do our operations. But if a bad man is watching the transaction from the cloud, they could spoof an email, or just change a letter in the email. It doesn't mean they're in the title company system. They're just spoofing it, making it look like that. I think if you hit reply, you might be able to see it's not the email, the title company's email, or they'll change, a letter, and the buyer doesn't recognize that, and they just they switch wiring instructions. I think that most buyers are getting, realtors are very good at educating their buyers about that. So I think that you don't see that as often. When you do, it's catastrophic for the buyer, of course, because it's not with earnest money, it's with funds to close, which is a much larger amount.
Yeah.
They switching the wiring instructions is one big way of doing it, but there's also you know impersonations by phone. They could be calling as a seller wanting to change their wiring instructions for proceeds. um I know, I heard a story about another title company, and this is kind of a something that goes on with title companies and our friends trying to figure out how wrong was who, for this. But the title processor received an email from the seller saying that these are their wiring instructions.
Mhm.
That happens once in a while. They really, shouldn't do that. we we ask for it in a secure manner, but sometimes they'll just pop out of nowhere and send it. Uh, and the and not send it by any secure method,
Yeah.
which is very worrisome. But uh, the processor entered that the seller closed the next day in person. That right there is very weird. They're closing in person, but they're emailing you wiring instructions the day before. Why didn't they just give it to us in person?
Yeah.
Or not us, because it wasn't me, but
Mhm.
and, uh, so the escrow processor entered those wiring instructions into the form that the seller signs at closing. She was
Oh.
she thought, yeah, be diligent, let's enter it there.
Yeah.
So she entered it, and then when the escrow officer closed the seller and putting those documents in front of the seller, he signed it. And those were not his wiring instructions. You're talking, you're chatting, you're just signing and not looking at it.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that the escrow officer probably did not know that those wiring instructions came by email. I think it was a communication issue. I think the processor probably did not let the escrow officer know, because I just cannot imagine an escrow officer knowing it came by email and not making sure and saying, hey, did you send this email? This is what we got.
Yeah.
So he lost all his proceeds. It was a lot of money.
Oh no.
Yes, yeah. So there's always that
Yeah.
discussion. That's one of our talking points. Was it the processor wrong or the escrow officer wrong? But then he wasn't covered. I mean, I don't know what happened with the lawsuit, but
Yeah.
but uh, I don't think that they, because he signed that, you know, it makes it a lot harder for him to sue the title company. But of course, I do think that was negligence on the escrow officer and the processor, both.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
Yes. So
But another thing is
how can
oh,
buyers and sellers protect themselves from things like that? How can the seller in that case would have protected his money?
that we have to protect them. And that's the stance I take. I just feel like they just don't know enough, and we are very, very careful. Um, we make everyone feel comfortable. I don't care if you call 10 times to confirm wiring instructions.
Yes.
You've got to call. And the one issue is that they get the wiring instructions for earnest money. They
Mhm.
think they already have it. They don't want to call, but earnest money was $5,000. And then the other wire is 150. So it's a big deal, and they should call again. And I don't mind, when you're at the bank,
Yeah.
call again.
Yes.
The the number one thing I think that could protect you when you receive wiring instructions in addition to calling a number that's known. Google it. Don't take a number that's in the email because that could be altered.
Mhm.
Calling a number that's known and confirming the wiring instructions. But
Yeah.
another very important thing that I don't know really anyone that does this, but I would go back old school and print it as soon as you receive it and keep a hard copy. When we receive payoffs and things like that that have any wiring instructions, we print the hard copy immediately. We confirm the wiring instructions. But what happens between, where do you think those wiring instructions are when we confirm them? They're in our computer, right?
Yeah.
And if we're closing the next day, we do try to confirm. Uh, Lenders and title companies, we try to confirm as close to the closing date, or double confirm. We confirm at the beginning and then again, but those are saved in your computer. So those can be altered after they're confirmed. And
Yeah.
you think they were confirmed, you see? So I always print a hard copy,
Yeah.
and because no one can no one can alter that. So
Yeah.
I would recommend when buyers get wiring instructions, print a hard copy,
Yeah.
and when you confirm it, you have that hard copy. Don't go back into your email.
Mhm.
um, I had one guy, he was in IT, he was buying cash, 350,000 or something for his son. He was on vacation skiing. He did not want to be bothered. He had sent money the earnest money by wire. And I talked to him on the phone. I said, let's confirm this. He said, I don't have a pen. I don't have it. He said, I already have it saved in my bank because when he sent the first wire, usually, it may save the recipient. So we were already saved in it. And I said, well, I mean, there's there's always that chance that a bad man got into his computer and changed it in his banking. I mean, the chances of that are very low, but you're talking about $350,000. I
Yeah.
would confirm them one more time. And he was very upset with me and was very offended. But hey, I did my job. That's what
Yeah.
the right thing to do.
Yes,
Uh,
it is. It is. I always tell my buyer if they have to wire earnest money to Google, like you say, to Google the title company, the exact location, and then ask the title company to read the banking information to you, not you reading to them.
yes,
Ask
right.
them to read it to you, and then ask them to verify the person who in charge of the escrow and everything before
Yes.
you wire the money to
And
make
also, after you send the wire, email the title company and say, I just sent it.
right.
And now wires can take a few minutes to 2 hours to arrive, but
Mhm.
once it starts, 3 hours, I start getting nervous. And then it depends on the bank. If you have a big bank,
Yeah.
the funds show up
Uh-huh.
as they're walking out of the bank right after they send it. We get the funds right away. As soon as they send me the email, I already had the funds. But and I always let them, I will email people and let them know that we received your wire just so they have that peace of mind.
Yeah.
Once it's getting into 3 or 4 hours, I get a little worried. If it's a credit union, they're a little slower. But a lot of times, when I get worried, if they sent a wire and I haven't received it yet, it's because the bank did not initiate the wire yet. A lot of buyers fill out a form and think that that's initiating the wire, but no, someone in the wiring department has to literally,
Yeah.
send the wires. So that's what happens. But
Yeah.
yeah, confirm wiring instructions, just very, very, very important. But print a hard copy. I think that's one thing that people miss and don't do. And that's a rule in our office that we print hard copies of anything like that.
Yeah. Well, it's been an amazing conversation that I have learned a lot myself too. Um, Bonnie, can you let us know more about your service in the next 2 minutes?
Well, let's see. We are a title insurance agency. There's many of them in Houston.
Mhm.
Service-based. We do not do a lot of marketing. We are more of a service-based, and we have a lot of knowledge, a little bit of extra knowledge, I would say, than the average title company.
Mhm.
I've learned a lot from my prior boss who was an attorney and CPA and a fabulous, very intelligent attorney. So we know how to deal with the hard stuff on title. I'm not afraid of taking on a hard file because I like, sometimes I learn something new.
Mhm.
So I will try to fix things, but I won't cut corners. That absolutely will never happen in our title company. We do work very hard, just like every other title company. We stay late. My
They
closer hosts say,
stay
stay
very
late.
late.
Yes, but we are just a little boutique company, but uh, we've I've only had I don't think I've had a claim yet, and under my watch.
Well, you know what? I like I say, I have worked with buyers and seller, and whenever I work with buyers, I don't have a choice of what title company that I use. But whenever I represent the
No,
seller, I always choose Smart Title because
thank you.
Bonnie has been very personal to me in responding to my questions. She always available. Even when I'm working on a complete different transaction, I just reach out to her and ask questions, and she just so happy to do research for me. And that's what I really, really appreciate about the service that Smart Title provided. And I love that. I'm very personal to my client too. So I would love to find other vendors that do the same style in business. So, okay, well, thank you so much for your time today, Bonnie.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for educate us on this topic. And please let us know if you have any questions. Share it in the comments. We'll come back and answer your questions. And I am sure we'll link to Smart Title contact information in the description so you can find them and reach out for questions if you have any. So I'll see you. Do you have any last words?
I'll see you soon. Uh,
Okay.
no, just how about Title Smart with Smart Title?
There you go. There you perfect. That is so
It's our
perfect.
logo.
Okay, well, I'll see everyone later, and thank you so much for joining us today. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye, Jill.